He walked quietly across the lobby, head bowed low, pushing the janitor's cart as if apologizing just for existing. In a skyscraper built of glass and ambition, where million-dollar contracts were signed behind soundproof doors, there was a man nobody noticed, a man invisible in a world of brilliance. And yet it was him, Jordan Blackwell, who did the impossible, because the little girl everyone in the building feared, the daughter of billionaire Eleanor Pierce, was untouchable. That girl, Isabel Pierce, had once been the smile of the entire empire. Now there was only silence. 8 nannies had come and gone. Therapists had given up. She screamed when treated with kindness, cried when anyone touched her, and locked her heart behind invisible walls. Until one seemingly ordinary afternoon, Jordan was mopping the marble floor near the elevators when he heard a soft sob behind a column. He stopped, set the mop aside, and walked closer. Then he knelt down slowly, carefully, as if afraid to break something fragile. From the pocket of his shirt, he took out a small object, something that looked ordinary, but somehow made the whole world stand still for a few seconds. And then, miraculously, the girl stopped crying. No one in the company knew what had just happened. No one knew that the man pushing the cleaning cart had once been a wonderful father until he lost everything. And Eleanor Pierce, the powerful woman she was about to witness something that would change her life forever. On the 30th floor of Pierce Global Dynamics, in the heart of Manhattan, the glass walls reflected the light of the entire city below. In the silence so deep she could hear her own heartbeat, Eleanor Pierce stood motionless, eyes fixed on her computer screen. On it was the 9th psychological report about her daughter Isabel. Patient completely rejects strangers. Severe PTSD symptoms. No response to cognitive behavioral therapy. No response to play therapy. Psychiatric intervention recommended. Suggestion: short-term hospitalization. Eleanor slowly closed the laptop. No, not again. At 41, the CEO of a $3.2 billion biotech empire, a woman who commanded 2,000 employees, negotiated with governments, and made decisions that affected millions of lives, now stood powerless before a 7-year-old child. Since the day Richard Pierce, her husband, her daughter's father, and the family's anchor died in a plane crash 3 months ago, Isabel had become a shadow of herself. Those eyes, only 7 years old, carried a hollowness most adults would never dare to face. 3 months earlier, Isabel had been the light of this office. She ran into her mother's room, holding a drawing made with crayons. "Mum, look, I drew us 3 people. You, Daddy, and me." Richard laughed, lifted his daughter into his arms, and spun her around. "Do you know your mom is the smartest woman in the world?" "I know," Isabel giggled, "but Daddy's the best." Their laughter filled the room back then. Now only the hum of the air conditioning remained. The intercom on her desk buzzed, shattering the memory. "Ms. Pierce, security has a situation. It's about Isabel." Eleanor's blood ran cold. She was out of her chair in an instant, her heels clicking a frantic staccato on the hardwood floor as she flew towards the elevator bank. The security chief, a man named Harris, met her in the hallway, his face unreadable. "She's in the main lobby, Mom. She's with the new janitor." He approached her. "We were about to intervene, but you need to see this." They descended in tense silence. Eleanor's mind raced with worst-case scenarios, her grip on her composure slipping. The elevator doors slid open to reveal a scene that stopped her heart. There in the middle of the vast, sunlit lobby sat Isabel. She wasn't curled in a ball or hiding. She was sitting cross-legged on the polished marble, her back against a potted fern, and next to her, also seated on the floor, was Jordan Blackwell. His janitor's cart was parked a few feet away, forgotten. In his large, work-worn hands, he was gently, expertly, folding a piece of paper. It was a simple square of white, but under his fingers it transformed. "A crease here, a tuck there." Isabel watched, utterly mesmerized, her tear-streaked face serene. Her small hands were clasped in her lap, and for the first time in 3 months, she was still, quiet, present. Jordan didn't speak. He simply folded. When he was done, he held out his palm. On it sat a perfect tiny paper crane. Its wings were delicately pointed, its body taut with potential. He offered it to Isabel, not by placing it in her hand, but by setting it on the floor between them, an invitation. Slowly, as if moving through deep water, Isabel reached out. Her fingers, which had flinched from the softest touch, closed around the paper crane. She held it up, her eyes tracing its simple, elegant lines. Then she looked at Jordan, and she spoke, a single, breathless word. How? Jordan's face, usually etched with the lines of profound sorrow, softened. He reached into his pocket and pulled out another square of paper. This one was faded, slightly crumpled at the edges. "My daughter," he said, his voice a low, gravelly whisper that somehow carried across the silent lobby. "She loved cranes. She believed if you folded 1,000, you could make a wish. A real one." He didn't elaborate on the daughter, on the loss that hung around him like a shroud. He simply began folding again, his movements a slow, deliberate dance. This time Isabel mirrored him. She smoothed the paper he gave her on her knee, her little brow furrowed in concentration, trying to mimic his folds. Eleanor stood frozen, a statue of shock and awe. Harris shifted beside her. "Should I?" he began, but Eleanor raised a hand, silencing him. She was witnessing a miracle. A silent communion in a place built for noise and deals. This man, this invisible man, had breached the fortress of her daughter's grief with nothing but a piece of paper and a memory of his own. For 10 minutes, the world of Pierce global dynamics ceased to exist. There was only the floor, the two figures, and the quiet ritual of creation. Jordan folded a frog that could hop with a press of his thumb. Isabel's lips twitched, almost a smile. He folded a simple boat. "It can sail on puddles," he murmured. "The best adventures start small." Finally, Eleanor found her legs. She walked forward, her steps hesitant, afraid to shatter the spell. Jordan saw her first. He began to rise, to retreat into his role, but Isabel's small hand darted out and grasped his sleeve. It was the first voluntary contact she had initiated with anyone since her father's death. Jordan stilled. Eleanor knelt before them, her expensive suit pooling on the floor. Ignoring the stares of passing executives, she looked at Jordan, truly looked at him for the first time. She saw the kindness in his tired eyes, the deep, abiding pain that mirrored her own, and a quiet strength that had nothing to do with stock options or boardrooms. "Mr. Blackwell," she said, her CEO voice failing her. The name came from the security badge clipped to his chest. "What is your first name?" "Jordan, ma'am," he said, his gaze lowering for a moment before meeting hers again. "Jordan Blackwell." "You reached her," Eleanor whispered, the words thick with emotion. Jordan looked at the paper crane in Isabel's hand. "Sometimes," he said, his voice barely audible, "the lost find each other. Not with words, just with remembering how to make something out of nothing." In that moment, Eleanor Pierce, the titan of industry, made a decision that defied all logic, all protocol. "Jordan, I have a proposition for you. A temporary one. Would you consider spending some time with Isabel? After school, here or at our home? Not as a janitor, as a friend." Jordan's eyes widened. The weight of the offer, the sheer impossibility of it, hung in the air. He glanced at Isabel, who was now carefully placing her paper creations in a row. She looked up at him, and in her eyes was a silent plea, a tiny flicker of light in the profound darkness. He had lost his own world. Could he dare to step into the shattered pieces of another's? He took a slow breath, the air in the lavish lobby feeling unfamiliar in his lungs. He gave a single, solemn nod. "I can try." And so, an unlikely alliance was formed in the heart of a corporate fortress. A billionaire CEO and a broken janitor, bound by the silent grief of a child. Jordan Blackwell, who had once built a world of laughter and bedtime, stories for a little girl who was gone, now held the fragile key to unlocking another. He didn't have degrees in child psychology or trauma therapy. All he had was a pocket full of paper, a heart that remembered how to love, and the quiet courage to kneel on a cold floor and offer a piece of his past to a lost little girl. The story was just beginning. Could a man who had lost everything save a child who was losing herself? in the folded wings of a paper crane, in the shared silence of understanding, there now lived a fragile, soaring hope. If you believe that the smallest acts of kindness can rebuild entire worlds, then don't miss the next chapter of this extraordinary story. Share this with someone who needs a reminder of humanity's quiet strength. And subscribe to Kindness True Stories to follow Jordan and Isabel's journey as they learn, one fold at a time, how to heal,